perspectives from the sky on this, what is it, 28th day of May, 2022. Well, there's plenty to talk about today. Plenty's been going on. I do want to talk about what happened at the elementary school a bit, put it into some perspective, that horrible happening there. But I do want to talk about many things. And let's talk about what's going on in the sky real quickly now. Tomorrow, Sunday, on the 29th, there'd be a Mars conjunction with Jupiter in Aries. So, you know how things have felt kind of flat lately? Probably because we're in the last quarter moon. The moon's been darkening and darkening and darkening every day. So if some of you have felt kind of flat, or if not flat, then maybe without much sense of direction moving forward, not much desire to act, to do things, to get things going, that'll start shifting somewhat tomorrow with that Mars, Jupiter, and Aries, and then shift even more the next day on the 30th, as we have a new moon in very active Gemini. But yet, not time to fully move forward or make big decisions yet, even though you get the feeling of let's move forward, because Mercury is retrograde now, and it'll stay retrograde until the 3rd of June. So if you can, put off those big decisions. I'm sure a lot of you have, if you've tracked it, you can see how, people feel a certain way before Mercury goes retrograde, and then all of a sudden they question what they've already chosen. A good example, I think I brought it up last time, was Tom Brady in football retired during the last Mercury retrograde. I told everybody, he's probably going to go back to football because he retired during Mercury retrograde. And yes, after Mercury went back direct, not that much long after that, I'm coming back. I'm playing again. So that's good proof of what happens during Mercury retrograde, is you kind of get taken into seeing things a certain way, different than the way you saw them before, perhaps. And then when it goes direct, you may see it different again. That's why I always say don't make decisions during Mercury retrograde. Now, sometimes, it would have turned out okay to make a decision, but it's happened so many times. I've seen it so many times in the 35, 40 years I've been doing this. That's why I'll tell people, please do your best not to make that decision, because it may not be what you want to do by the time Mercury goes back direct again. So again, June 3rd will go back direct. It's usually good to give it a good week, if possible, before making that decision or moving forward in that big way, because it takes a little while for Mercury to get back to speed again, which means things have cleared up to a large extent. Sometimes maybe the clarity will come soon after it goes direct, but just to play it safe, if you can, because sometimes decisions you got to do it now. But if you can't, wait a week, 10 days after it goes back direct, so it gets back to speed or close to back to speed. So then it's like we're in a big gateway forward after that. This whole eclipse season, those two eclipses, one on the 30th of April and then 15th of May, that lunar eclipse, total lunar eclipse, that was very powerful. All of that kind of took us out of wherever we were and dropped us into this new space. And that new space can feel confusing. Like, where do I go from here? What direction do I take now? But whatever it's been for you, you are in a new space, but you won't be moving forward in that new space until after all these things happen that I just mentioned. Then you'll have more of a sense of moving forward. For all practical purposes, the eclipse season will end at the new moon in Gemini on Monday. Does that mean all events stop? No, of course not. But whatever that was meant to be, the eclipse season, and there was a lot going on out in the world and in our personal lives, that scrambling things up and shifting and changing everything, that's going to somewhat stop. And then what will happen after that is it's time for action after the 3rd or 4th of June, maybe even sooner for some. Action, move forward. Hopefully there's a better sense of direction for where you're going and what you're doing with your life. So remember this changing of ages. And I know a lot of you go, oh, yeah, changing of ages, they're really cool. Look what's going on in the world. And you tell us we're in a new age. Let me put it to you this way. The last age started, the Pisces age, started maybe, my estimation, about 100 years before Christ was born, approximately. So, the new age really hadn't started, like, in all ways. Just the beginning vibes of it had come. Then Christ was born. Then it took a while before Christianity took in, because a lot of what that new age was about the one God religions being very popular in the world. Yes, we had one God religion with Judaism, but that wasn't, that was like closed in. It's us, our people. Judaism isn't meant to spread so much. But Christianity, yeah, and Islam, yes. And Islam came about 600 years after Christ was born. Muhammad was born. And then those two big religions had a lot to do with what the New Age was going to be, the one God religions spreading across the globe. So it doesn't all happen fast. But what's important is that each one of us gets into the consciousness of the New Age, the diversity within unity way of looking at things. And see, that's really important when you really look at this now. Okay, we look at what happened in Texas with the elementary school. It's happened so many times in our country now. It doesn't happen around the world, everybody. It happens in America. Come to grips with that. Happens mainly in America. And yes, the people are yelling and screaming about the guns. Of course. How can we not have more sane laws around guns, make it like a process people have to go through in order to be able to get a gun? How can it be so easy? How can an 18-year-old just be able to go out and buy AR, whatever those things are, rifles? 18 years old. Is that easy? Because you don't have to go through jump through any loops to get your guns. So of course they're right about that. But that's not the total answer to the problem. It's deeper than that. Yeah, that's going to help a lot. But we live in a paradigm that's about survival of the fittest still. That's about my religion, my country, even my family, and then you're over there. It's not like we're all together in a community and no one's any better than anyone else. And no one really has to compete all the time with anyone else. But instead, we have a community that we're working for. Our individuality, we're looking to our authentic self and to be that. But at the same time, we want to be in a community where people have different ideas, different ways of looking at things. And it's not like a competition, like I'm a liberal and you're a conservative and your way is stupid and my way is the way. It can't be like that. It's got to be, I've got this way of looking at things and you've got that way of looking at things. And now let's look at our community and let's work together to work things out. And in America, that's just not happening. The Republicans and the Democrats, the liberals and the conservatives are at war with one another. Culture war is real. We get a civil war here in the United States. And in a lot of ways, that civil war is still going on. And there's no respect for one another's opinion. So that has to change. There has to be more of a sense of community, more of a sense of all of us are caring about our community and making it better. Look what happened in Texas at that elementary school. There should be no war over what the best way to do this is. It should be a discussion of how to make it better in our community, in our country, so that this does not happen. And we have to get out of war stance with one another in order to do that. We have to get out of your opinion is dumb, you're my enemy, I'm better than you, or I'm worse than you, instead of we're equals. That's part of the Aquarian age too, because it's part of what Aquarius is, equality. Diversity within unity. We the people. So it's not run anymore by the corporations and big money. It's not run anymore by big government. It's run by we the people. That's the way it was supposed to be, right? And when the idea of like representatives and senators and stuff like that, it was meant to be they're representing us. It doesn't work that way very much, does it? A lot of them are bought out by big money, and they make a lot of their votes based on that. Do you see how much we need a reboot in this country and in the world? And the war out in Ukraine, you understand that underneath it all, it's about the West, NATO, against Russia, the East, soon to be China. That's what's going on. That's what that's all about. Sure, we can say we love democracy and freedom and we want Ukraine to have those things. That's okay. But there's another way of looking at things that comes from the eastern part of the world. And it's not like, oh, you're socialist or you're communist, and so you're like you're dumb or you're evil. It's a different way of looking at things. And if we're going to build a good community coming up in our new community, in our new world, it's got to be a combination of things. Capitalism by itself isn't working. There's too much greed involved. There's too many haves and have-nots that have come from it. Some amount of socialism might be the right thing to do, to balance it, or to have a whole new system altogether. I don't know. All I know is there's a reordering of our world that's going on. I can tell you that for sure. And what's going on there is a part of that reordering. It's geopolitical power restructuring in the world. And hopefully that power is not so much about power over moving forward. It's not about nuclear weapons and who's got the most, has the most say in our world. The Security Council of the United States, the people that have the most say, the five, Russia, China, France, England, United States, Germany a little bit now. Why are they there? They got more money and they got the nuclear weapons. Every one of those countries has the nuclear weapons. Every one of them. So if you've got power and you've got money, you have a stronger voice in this world. Is that right? Is that right? Do you feel that's right? Well, that's the way that it is. And that plays into all the things I'm saying about the old paradigm. It's about money and power. And so everybody is looking to compete with everybody else to have more money and more power. And when you look at what happened in the school system, can't you see that underneath it all, that's a part of what the problem is? Is violence is okay? Look at our movies. They're filled with like ridiculous violence. Well, yeah, it can be fun, it can be entertaining, but come on, underneath it all, it's letting us know what our paradigm is that we're living in. A lot of what the movies don't think they're going to make any money if it's not about sex or violence. I'm sure that's what they believe because that's what they put out there. And making money is what the paradigm is in this country. So if you're not making money, so if we don't change our consciousness and want other things besides that, then that's what they're going to feed us in a capitalist society. What's going to make them money? It's the way the game is played. We need to change the game. And my belief is the things that are going on in the world now are going to be instigators, motivators for changing our world. How's it going to change? Look at the leaders that are there now. It's going to change because each one of us is changing our consciousness. We no longer believe in that programmed way of looking at how life is and needs to be. We are putting out different ideas, and even more important, inside our consciousness, we are shifting things and changing things so we can see things differently. So we see the connections all over the earth, all over our country, between men and women, in the universe. A lot of you are going, yeah, well, you're Pollyanna. What is wrong with you? Can't you see we need to make these changes? We're on the verge of blowing ourselves up. What's going on in Ukraine? We're feeding Ukraine more and more weapons, more and more weapons. Don't you see? we are pushing for something really horrible to happen. When Putin feels that he's been pushed into a corner, he's going to come out and do something really big. We need to change our paradigm. And I hope we don't need a nuclear weapon dropped somewhere in order to scare us enough to get us to change the paradigm. Let's work, each one of us individually, on changing that paradigm inside ourselves. How do you do that? Spiritual practices, meditations, being in nature, psychedelic drugs, even if that's what you feel is right for you. But you got to do things that break yourself out of the box and start looking at life from your mind and from your heart in all new ways. That's how the world's going to change. It's not going to change by keeping it the same way. Was it, people always say it's Einstein that said this. I don't know. Maybe it is. If you do things the same way over and over again and expect things to be different, then you're insane. Well, our world is insane. These murders that are happening in the elementary schools, nobody has done anything. Nobody's made any changes in our culture with all of these that have happened. Not even that much of a shift in the gun laws or anything else. The mental health system. Find that people going through social media to pick up people that are, this guy was writing about doing something like that on social media. What changes are we making when we see these horrible things happen? We're not. And that's insanity. So there's going to be another, well, let me say this first then. So you got the Mercury retrograde, Mercury back direct tomorrow. There's a very powerful Mars conjunct Jupiter in Aries. And Israel will be a place to look at, Jerusalem, tomorrow. Because there's a flag day that's been called for by the Israelis, where they're going to march through Jerusalem and potentially up to where the Al-Aqsa Mosque is. That's revered by the Islamic world and by the Palestinians, which is right in the same place where Temple Mount, which is the great temple that used to be there in Israel, that was destroyed many years ago. They're looking to rebuild it, I think, which could be politically really dangerous there. But, the point is that tomorrow, when this Flag Day happens, already Hamas and the Palestinians are already geared for Israel trashing their sacred mosque, and with this Flag Day, and then they're ready to fight if that happens. And if that happens, that could be a huge explosion in the Middle East, in Jerusalem. Remember this. It's likely something big is going to be happening over the next several years in Israel, Palestine, the Middle East. Because look at it this way. The major religions, two of them, grew greatly during the age of Pisces: Islam and Christianity. And of course, Judaism, before the age of Pisces even started. And so that's a part of the world that it's really important for transformation. It's also a part of the world that a lot of the early Western civilizations began too. Egyptian, Sumerian, Babylonian, all came from that area of the world. So it's got a lot of history for the family, the human family, especially Western culture. And of course, those religions I just mentioned. So if we're truly, which we are, going through a change of paradigms, going through a change of ages, going through a deep transformation of consciousness, then that makes sense that that part of the world is going to go through a lot of the deep transformation. And, you're already seeing that part of the transformational cycles is about people doing the old paradigm way of me against you, you're my enemy. And that's happening there too. And that's going to get much worse. And hopefully then, and I feel very confident then, that it'll be part of the changing of consciousness and changing of the paradigm on the earth from a very important place on the earth, both civilizations and religions born there. So maybe tomorrow won't have that, but I think it's really dangerous tomorrow in that area, with looking at the aspect and looking at what they're doing. Then there's this reordering of the global structure that's a part of this early years of the Age of Aquarius. And when Pluto moves into Aquarius, and that'll be in 2023, and it's going to stay in Aquarius, which is really an extended amount of time. Usually it's 13, 14, 15 years, but it's going to be from 2023 to 2044. 21 years, Pluto in Aquarius. So Aquarius is the community, the larger community. It's also the individual, the diversity within the community, the culture. And so Pluto, guardian of the underworld and the most powerful of all the transformational planets, will be in the sign of the new age for 21 years. So it's going to have a lot to do with the reordering and the restructuring of our global picture, of our global world. Important to realize that China and Russia will be working together to strengthen that part of the world, to strengthen that side of consciousness. And remember, it's about bringing together, just like, oh, I'm going to do this again. Over my head. See, over my head, over there. Over there. Yes, the yin yang symbol. And so ultimately, that's got a lot to do with what we need to do in order to get this world to transform. Bringing the opposites together. Not at war. Yeah, arguments, fights, but not violence and killing. Listening to one another, even if at times, just like when you're in a relationship with somebody, a marriage, or a relationship, you get in fights. Sometimes it almost feels like a war, but it doesn't really become war. You don't hurt one another violently, but you end up working to be together, to come to something together. Opposites uniting, even if there's friction, learning how to unite. And that's what the eastern part of the world and the western part of the world are going to need to learn to do. Not nuke each other, but learn to listen to one another for the sake of the greater community. So you can count on Russia and China strengthening themselves. Probably Iran will be with them. A lot of the Islamic countries will be with them. And the United States and the Western world, Europe, will be on the other side. And I hope that it won't be long before we get to the place of diversity within unity through it all. But that the first part is not going to be easy in this restructuring of the world, because the paradigm has been survival of the fittest. my team against your team. You're the enemy. I need to defeat you and take the spoils. That's how the game is played. And that's what's going to change. And I hope sooner than later. We're going to have Deb on pretty soon, by the way. I know a lot of you look forward to when Deb comes on. I do. And she'll have with us a really nice meditation to help us through these times. And, I hope a lot of you are doing your meditations, because, that's the place where you can find your source, where you can find your inner peace. It's where you can find the place where everything inside of you connects, as opposed to being against one another. Because we have community inside ourselves too. That's why astrology is so good. For me, it's been so good helping other people and myself, because all the planets and all the places that they are different voices inside of ourselves, different facets of ourselves, different sides of ourselves. And it's a circle that holds them, the mandala. And all the planets sit inside the circle. And so what that's about is each side of ourselves, each voice inside of ourselves, each part of ourselves and our world to be integrated. Even like if it's a square, which is more of a conflict than a sextile or a trine, or an opposition can also be a conflict. And yet we learn how to integrate these different parts to ourselves so that they are working together for the same whole person, you or me. So it's a microcosm of what the world needs. So inside of ourselves, we have diversity, different sides to ourselves, diversity, and again, within unity. So we learn how to bring all of our separate parts into togetherness and unity. And it's not always easy. In fact, it's not easy, because we have certain parts of ourselves that we really like. Certain parts of ourselves, maybe our families or society says wasn't good. You're being too aggressive. You're being too nice. You're being too something. And so we take that part of ourselves, we push it in the corner and build up other parts of ourselves. Okay, to a certain extent. But we need to listen to every part that's inside of us. And a lot of times where a planet is inside your chart, it's not just inside of you, but it's in your world. So maybe people in your life speak to that part of you. And so they need to be listened to, so that part of yourself inside yourself is listened to also. I hope you know what I mean. I very seldom talk about the work I do, but that's kind of the work I do. Transformation of consciousness and inner integration with people through the use of their planets. If you have any interest in that, I haven't been doing this, but Soulus, SOULUS, at AOL.com. I'd love to help you out. See you for a session or for a number of sessions to help you get through your own transformation of consciousness. And I have sliding scales to help people financially too. So soon we've got Deb coming on. Oh, I know what I wanted to talk about additionally before I let myself go and I bring Deb in. Well, a couple of things. One will have to do with out there in the space. I'll get to that one in a second. First one is I've been talking to people this week and I've been witnessing it myself. And that's have you noticed that the younger kids, like under 30, maybe even under 25, that a lot of them aren't wanting to go out into the world like we did? Like I'm finding out from talking to my clients that a lot of their kids or grandkids, they don't even want to get their driver's license. Wow, I couldn't wait to get my driver's license so I could get out, go do things. They don't. And what I'm also hearing is that a lot of them are not making plans for the future, college or what the profession's going to be, or do they want to get married? They're not making those plans either, like we used to. But what's that about? What's that about? It must, at least in part, be about they don't have much confidence in the future. But it also is they've been more protected. I think, than other generations. Their families have protected them more for whatever reason. I'm not saying it's bad or good. But that's one thing I wanted to point out about how that's been happening. And how I've noticed that in people that I know have been pointing that out to me. Now, here's the second thing before we bring Deb on. I found out that on August 15th, 1977, same year Chiron was discovered. And I want to get to that in a second. The one and only radio signal received from far outer space was received on that day. It didn't last long. What did I read? 20 seconds, a minute? I'm not sure, but not long. But long enough to stay with it and see it's there, this radio signal. And then they traced it to where it came from. And it came from a star in the middle of Sagittarius. In fact, from what I read, from not from New Age or whatever, but from Rio, like NASA or somewhere like that, that it was like a sun in Sagittarius. I don't know exactly where within Sagittarius, but remember that the center of the galaxy is like about 27 degrees of Sagittarius. I don't know how close it was to that, but it was in Sagittarius in general. So Chiron was discovered at that same time, or not at the same month, but like about 2 months later. Early November, Chiron was discovered. And for me, Chiron, from my research and from experiencing other people and their charts all these years, I've come to the conclusion that what Chiron is mainly is a bridge between our 3D world and other dimensions that are part of the new age we're moving into. So, like, up until 1781, Saturn was the furthest planet known. 1781, Uranus was discovered. 1846, Neptune. 1930, Pluto. These are the new planets that represent the new age, the new world, and also the heavens in general. Where does Chiron sit? Whatever it is, and there's debate as to what it is, Chiron sits in between Saturn and Uranus. The old planets, the old world, the new planets, the new world. Whenever I look to see what the meaning of a planet is, I'll look to see what's going on Earth around the same time. So just to give you an example, when Uranus was discovered, Uranus, the ruling planet of Aquarius, 1781, that was around the time of the American and the French Revolutions. Age of Aquarius was beginning with those revolutions of the people, by the people, for the people. No more kings and queens, despots and autocrats telling us what our world is going to be. We, the people, take over our world. It's more of a world of equality. It's more of a world of diversity within unity. That's Uranus. That's what was discovered. That's what was going on. When Chiron was discovered, I had to really dig deep to see what kind of connection I could find with that. Interestingly, the first real popular and well-done movies about outer space, ETs in outer space, happened in 1977. Star Wars, the first Star Wars came out in 1977. And even more interestingly, Close Encounters of the Third Kind came out that year. Talk about a connection of the dimensions. Remember the thing with the lights and the sounds and the people down here, and a peaceful connection between the world out there, the alien beings, and us. Chiron, bridge between this earthly three-dimensional world and the dimensions that are way out there that we're all moving into more and more to have the proper consciousness for the age of Aquarius. I thought it was just amazing that happened in 1977 when Chiron was discovered. So Chiron in your natal chart is important. And this year will be the 45-year anniversary of that discovery, of that capturing of that radio frequency. So that's all I've got to say today. Except one more thing. This show won't be on for 4 more weeks. So at the end of June, we'll have our next show. Deb and I are doing a little bit of traveling um, for a while. A wedding to go to. Uh, some traveling up to the Bay Area, which we lived at and loved for many, many years. Um, we'll be going through there. I'm gonna take some time off. Deb and I are both taking time off. So the next radio show will be 4 weeks from today. Um, so since I mentioned Deb, I guess that's a good segue then, isn't it? Into bringing my lovely wife on to talk with y'all. So Deb, not if you're ready. Are you ready to come on? Yes? Okay.
Oh,
And there she,
yes. Okay. Okay.
hey
Good.
Deb,
It's work. I was concerned. Hey there.
how you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Thanks for an awesome show so far, and the wisdom you've shared about consciousness and shifting our consciousness.
Thanks, Deb. How you feeling today? What would you like to share today?
So I guess today, I mean, this weekend, besides the Jupiter Mars conjunction, there's a lot of energies in Taurus. So when I was at the creek today, I just felt this sense of just surrendering into nature and just kind of being present in the moment. That kind of Taurian, like I think of Taurian like a solid rock, like the Buddha kind of energy. Like really being able to be grounded and centered and present.
I sometimes see it as the Earth itself, Taurus.
Yes,
Don't
and
you?
I think of Taurus.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think of Taurus that way too. So, yeah, so I think this time right now, like you said, there's so much like energy for the new beginnings, and yet it's not quite that time.
Right.
As you were saying, till after Mercury goes direct, and so I think this is a time to just be and just maybe foresee or maybe get guidance, at the new moon of Gemini. Maybe you'll get some information
Yeah.
about what the new chapter is for you. But I don't know, with all this Taurian energy, the moon's in Taurus too, near Uranus and the North Node. So, it just feels like that time to surrender to the earth. I just keep getting, like you said, the Earth Mother. And it's Venus too. So it's the goddess energy, surrendering into that goddess energy. And in the I'm just going to talk for a minute in the cycle of Venus, which I've been studying the last few years, in this my wonderful Venus alchemy class. And so whenever the moon and Venus join together, either in the waning or the waxing moon, it opens a gateway in the cycle of Venus, and it's connected with the descent and ascent of Inanna, like the old ancient Sumerian myth, who Inanna was actually Venus. So we just Thursday night we entered the solar plexus gateway in the descent, because it's the descent now, because it's the Venus joining the waning moon, crescent moon. So I felt so blessed to wake up and see the moon and Venus right near each other, and then Jupiter and Mars right next to each other. They were really close in the sky. So, those pairings, it's interesting. So entering the solar plexus gateway has a lot to do with what you were talking about. Was the use of it has a lot to do with the use of power. Our solar plexus is the use of our power, our will. Our own empowerment, how we've used or abused power in our lives or lifetimes. So that's a theme now. And with Venus being in Taurus for the next few weeks, I feel like it also has to do with us coming into our sovereignty. Because I think of Taurus as very much like a sovereign kind of energy. Of it, being grounded in yourself, knowing who you are, and being on your own inner throne. Because I believe that our sovereignty is sitting in on our own inner throne, and knowing that there's no authority outside of us that's any greater than us, that we're whole and complete
Yeah.
as we are, that we don't need to seek outside of ourselves for the answer, that we really have we have wisdom within us. In fact, we have the wisdom of the ages within us. We just need to go within to tap into that wisdom. And I think Taurus can help us do that, because it can help us, be in that earthy grounded state. So I'm recommending people over the next few weeks just really feel your belly too, because it's the solar plexus, your belly, and what's in your gut, what wisdom do you have within you. And like you were talking about, there's so much going on in the world right now, and I know so many people. Something just popped up on my screen. There's so many people that are feeling so disillusioned and afraid of apocalypse, all kinds of things. And I think
Yeah, what can people do to help themselves?
So to me, part of it is having faith in this great transition of the ages, the great shift of the ages, and know, like you were talking about, that we are in this transition period, and the old world is going to be dying and dismantling, and it's not going to be pretty necessarily. But what we can do is be agents of calm. I remember when I was studying more about the Mayan calendar years ago, I think it's Una that talk about being an agent of calm, and that, to me, that's a Taurus energy too that we have right now. So how can we stay calm and have faith in the unfolding of the divine plan on earth? And I believe that there's a divine plan unfolding on earth, even though it might look ugly at times.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That it's like a birth. Like I was talking to my friend yesterday, my Venus teacher, and we were talking about how birth is not a pretty thing. It's painful. It's like messy. It's, as much as you want it to be this beautiful experience, it can be really intense sometimes. You know, um, it's very, very painful, even though you've planned for this beautiful birth. So I think we need to hold that we're in a birthing process right now in our own individual lives, as we're starting this new chapter of our lives, but also on the planet. And Judy just wrote the birth death cycle, and I think that it's the birthing and the passing is the same. It's a process we go through to go through that transition, and it's 1:44 p.m. right now here in Sedona and the West Coast. And that, when I look at that time every day, because 100, that's the other thing, it's reminding me that, there's a certain number of people that need to get to that certain level of consciousness. We could call it the level of Christ consciousness. I also say Magdalene consciousness, because I believe they were together on that mission for love and unconditional love and forgiveness. But when enough people can reach that state of consciousness, it has a huge ripple effect for the whole. Because, sometimes when you think about it, my gosh, how is everything going to transform? How is that going to happen? And as you said, it's in our consciousness. But it's going to be like a certain number of us that reach that level of consciousness to tip. It's like a tipping point.
Right.
And so the more of us that can get into that consciousness of love unity consciousness, that we're not separate, we're connected, that there's a divine plan, and to really hold positive, as the elders say, positive spiritual thought, like stay in a high enough vibration yourself as much as you can, and in your own relationships, your own friendships, um, you know, work with your own consciousness and your own heart, and really bring yourself into that heart coherence with the earth, with in your own consciousness of the new paradigm, the
How
new
can
earth.
people do that, Deb? Like meditation? What other ways do people have to find that calm, centered space inside that you know of?
I believe really connecting with the earth mother, coming into oneness with her, feeling your heart beginning to come into resonance with the heart of the earth, and also just in
How
your
does one
own
do that?
meditation.
How does one do that?
So in meditation, sitting on the earth, feeling your body on the earth. I mean, I can do that in the meditation, but you can tune into your own heartbeat, and then you sense the heartbeat of the earth, and you bring your heart into resonance with the heart of the earth. And then there's also the heart of the universe, the heart of you know the God source, God goddess source, and coming into resonance with that God goddess source is also important. And if we can keep coming back to love in our hearts as much as possible. I know it's not always easy, because we get triggered.
Yeah.
We have triggers from our own traumas, and so it's a spiritual practice, really, of keep bringing yourself back
Yeah.
into your heart, into a place of compassion for yourself and others. Because I mean, so many people, that's one of the main things. I'm a spiritual psychotherapist and counselor and guide, and one of the biggest things with everyone I've ever worked with is helping people to have compassion for themselves and self-love, and then it's easier to have that with others, and to have compassion with all the different parts of yourself, like you were talking about. We have all these different parts of ourselves astrologically and in our own psyche. Having compassion and mercy and and having humility too,
Yeah.
is a big thing. But that love, that unconditional love, and a lot of us need to work with healing our inner child that has felt abandoned or neglected or abused in some way. And I know that can also be very healing for people when they learn to. And I know for me, when I've started to really love that little child that felt out of place, that didn't feel like fit in, that when I could start loving, it just helps bring more love. And I think that's really, the path of the Magdalene, the path of divine feminine, is to bring
Tell,
things back to
tell,
love
tell
and
people more
forgiveness.
about tell people more about the Path of Magdalene.
So Mary Magdalene was actually an equal partner with Christ. Most people, she wasn't really recognized as that, but she was a major disciple, and she had many abilities of healing. And they were Essenes, so they were very connected to the earth too, and that Christ consciousness. And there's actually a lot of people that believe that there's actually an order of the Magdalens, and that many of us are actually Magdalens, not just women, but men too, that are here. And one of the main qualities or purposes of a Magdalene is to bring light into the darkest places.
Mm.
And I would add in bringing love. I would add in bringing love to the darkest places in our human psyche, in our soul, and on the earth, because it's all connected. The human soul and the world soul, right? There's the world soul of humanity, and then we each have our own soul. And the world soul of humanity is a reflection of the soul within us. And whatever we see outside, rather than condemning or judging it, we need to come into a greater place of forgiveness and bring that light and that love to the darkest places, even to those people that do these awful crimes and murders, like the 18-year-old that went into the school and killed all those children. To send like that love and compassion. He's not alive, but that's a part of the psyche of humanity that needs healing. It's a dark place in the human soul, the psyche that needs healing and love and light to penetrate it so that it can transform and not have to act out in those kinds of ways. I mean, I think when it gets right down to it, love and self-love, people that love themselves don't do things like that. People, you know what I mean? So people that are people that do, horrendous things, they've totally separated from their own inner light, their love. They've separated from source. They hate themselves usually. They have so much anger inside, and they need healing. And sometimes it's not so easy, but I mean that. And so the path of the Magdalene is really to bring. It has a lot to do with the divine union too, of the masculine and feminine within. Just like Mary Magdalene and Yeshua were twin flames. It has part of the Magdalene path has to do with marrying the opposites and sacred marriage, and the path of the Magdalene also has to do with love, bringing that love to everything, and that fierce compassion. Sometimes compassion is fierce and really strong. So someone keeps putting something up on the screen. So anyway, it's okay. I had asked for help because I couldn't pick up the camera. They keep seeing that they keep popping up. So anyway, that's the path of Magdalene. And I think, I've been getting guided more and more how important meditation and prayer is. And I'm getting guided to very soon. I need to get it all set up is to actually offer a weekly or every other week meditation prayer circle, because our prayers are so powerful in helping our planet. And there's actually so many studies done on when people join together with a focused intention in prayer and meditation, that it actually has a huge impact.
Oh, that'd be great if you did that. That'd be so great if you did that. Do you know when you want to start? Do you have an idea when you want to start?
I'm not sure. It'll be after getting back from California.
Yeah, end of June.
But and probably during Cancer, after the solstice. So, but today I thought what we could do is do a meditation where we because I know we don't have much time left, so I want to make sure we get in a little meditation to bring our hearts into coherence with the heart of Mother Earth and the heart of Source.
Wonderful.
And then to actually send energy to the whole of the earth and humanity, because we could that can really have an impact. So if we could all just, those of us that are listening, just close your eyes, and I'm going to play this heart chakra. It's actually the heart of Christos. It's a heart chakra ball. Can you still hear me? So just take a moment to feel your own heartbeat. And then just become aware that Mother Earth also has a sacred heart and a heartbeat. Just begin to sense her heartbeat. And then just imagine your heart and the heart of Mother Earth coming into resonance and alignment. So your hearts are beating as one. So as your heart is beating we are not separate from Mother Earth. We are part of Mother Earth. And just feeling that connection, that oneness with Mother Earth, with Gaia, as I call her. And as you breathe, you're breathing the breath of the earth and the breath of the spirit. And there's also the heart of the universe, the heart of source. And you can just imagine that heart of source above you. So aligning and bringing into resonance your heart now with the heartbeat of the universe, source. And feeling how connected you are now and in resonance and coherence with the heartbeat of Mother Earth and the heartbeat of the universe, of God, Goddess, Source. And then feeling your own heart as the center, the sacred center, as your heart beats. It is the heartbeat of the divine. Just feel how divine lives in your sacred heart. That you are not separate from the divine, from source, nor are you separate from the earth. We are one with the earth and one with source. And just feeling that now. Feel that powerful energy of the divine within you. And breathing into the flames of your heart. We have the flames of divine love, divine light, wisdom, divine power within us. It's feeling our hearts beginning to emanate a beautiful light from the light of source and the light of the earth. And just radiating that light, that love out. Imagining your heart has big wings, heart wings. And just imagine your heart wings wrapping around the earth and all beings, all life forms. And from your heart, you're radiating this love as your heart wings are wrapped around the earth and wrapped around all beings, all life forms, all in humanity. And you can just feel your heart just emanating that light and love to bless all beings. And this is a simple meditation that you can do anytime. You just need to come into that calm and peaceful place inside yourself in connection with the earth and the universe and your own heart. Then you can radiate this out to bless many other beings. So I know it's time for us to wind down, and I just wanted to say,
that was wonderful.
If anyone wants to get to know more about my work, you can go to Gaia Sophia, templeoftheheart.com, Gaia Sophia, templeoftheheart.com, and then my email is Elelia, ELELIA, at Gaia Sophia, Temple of the Heart. And soon we'll have a Spiritual Renaissance website again.
We are, yay! And
yes,
most likely we'll transform this show into Spiritual Renaissance too before very long.
Yes, and then of course Leo has his website, leoknightontallarico.com. So those are ways you can reach us.
Yeah, and it was wonderful being with you all today. And we'll see you in a month again. Both of us will be here for the next Perspectives from the Sky at the end, right after the summer solstice. So take care, everybody. We love you all. Bye-bye.
Bye. Much love. Infinite blessings.